In 2019, financial commentator Max Kaiser made a bold prediction that most of America ignored. He said, Bitcoin represents the single greatest opportunity ever for blacks in America to emancipate themselves from the entrenched white supremacists who have always run the country. For black Americans who have spent centuries locked out of asset ownership and punished for saving in a system that devalues their labor, Bitcoin offers more than profit. It's the first chance to own an asset that cannot be rigged against them. Before I explain what Bitcoin is and why it matters, you have to understand what money is, how modern money creation works. And then with this understanding, you will be able to better understand the inherent corruption of the current financial system and how Bitcoin offers a righteous path. At its core, money is simply an agreement. It's something people collectively decide has value, something we use to measure, store, and exchange for goods and services. On a deeper level, money is not just a medium of exchange. Money is stored human time and energy. Every dollar you earn represents hours of your life that you exchange for it. Hours you spent working, thinking, learning, building, sacrificing. Time that you can never get back. Money is how we store that time so we can use it later. It allows you to transfer your effort from the present into the future. When you work for 8 hours and save money, you are preserving 8 hours of your life in monetary form. This is why money exists. It is a claim on future goods, services, and human productivity. In this way, money is the mechanism that allows society to store and exchange its collective contributions across time and into the future. But this only works if the money reliably preserves the value of the time and energy it represents. If the value of money depreciates, then the value of your stored time depreciates with it. And this is where the consequences get real. Because when the supply of money increases, each new dollar reduces the value of the dollars you've already earned. You worked the same hours, you made the same sacrifices. But what those hours can purchase in the future becomes less. Because when money is devalued, it is not just currency that is being diluted. It is the stored value of life itself. Understanding this is critical. Because before you can understand what you can gain from Bitcoin, you must first understand what is being lost. Now, like I said before, money is simply an agreement. And if money is an agreement, what matters most is that the agreement can be trusted. Not all money is good money. Throughout history, societies have used both sound money, also known as good money, and unsound money, also known as bad money. Sound money is money whose supply cannot be easily increased. It is difficult to create, predictable in its issuance, and resistant to manipulation. Because new units cannot simply be produced at will, sound money protects the value of the time and labor used to earn it. It allows people to save with confidence, knowing their purchasing power will not be quietly eroded. Unsound money is the opposite of sound money. It is easy to create, unpredictable in its issuance, and susceptible to manipulation. Worst of all, unsound money is money whose supply can be expanded by those who control the system. Money is not created the way most people think. It's not just printed. Most new money is created through debt. When someone takes out a loan for a home, a car, a business, or a credit card, the bank doesn't lend existing money. It creates new money. Before the loan, that money does not exist. After the loan, it does. Put more simply, they create money out of thin air. This means most dollars in circulation exist because someone took out a loan. And to make it worse, the loan was taken out with interest. And that creates a structural problem. If $1,000 is created through a loan, more than $1,000 must be repaid. But the extra money needed to pay that interest was never created. The only way that needed money for interest can exist is if someone else, somewhere, takes out another loan. And that borrower depends on yet another borrower in an endless chain where the total debt always exceeds the total money in existence. Therefore, making inflation not an error, but a feature of the system. Most people think inflation means prices going up, but that's the symptom, not the cause. Inflation happens because there is more money trying to buy the same limited amounts of homes, land, food, and assets. Your money is losing purchasing power because there is simply more of it on the streets. Purchasing power is measured by the Consumer Price Index, which tracks how much it costs over time to buy the same goods and services. Since 1913, the US dollar has lost over 95% of its purchasing power. Your same work, your same effort, now buys a fraction of what it once did. When money loses value, not everyone is affected equally. Those who save in dollars fall behind. Their stored labor is slowly eroded. But asset owners, those who own things like stocks and real estate, experience the opposite. See, new money enters the economy through banks, governments, and financial institutions. It flows first into assets, raising their prices. The first to receive it are large banks, hedge funds, asset managers, corporations, and wealthy investors with direct access to capital markets. They benefit first because they can acquire assets before prices adjust. So the rich are able to get richer before you even knew what happened. Those further from the source experience the opposite. By the time new money reaches them, prices have already increased. Black Americans are especially more often positioned further from the source of money creation, more likely to be wage earners rather than asset owners, renters rather than homeowners, cash savers rather than stock investors. For us, the result is housing becomes more expensive, investments move further out of reach, and living expenses increase, while income stays relatively the same and savings lose value. Over time, this creates a compounding effect. Asset owners see their wealth grow automatically. Wage earners fall further behind, even while working just as hard, if not harder. And our positioning wasn't chosen. It was shaped by history. There was housing discrimination, restricted access to credit, and limited access to asset-building opportunities. Each cycle of money creation does the same thing. It increases the value of assets Black Americans are less likely to own, while increasing the cost of living we must pay. And the system continues this pattern through laws that appear neutral, but are structured to extract from those at the bottom and reward those at the top. This is why inflation widens the wealth gap. It's an invisible tax, slowly but relentlessly draining you dry, then funneling those ill-gotten gains to the already wealthy. For most of history, there was no alternative, but for the first time, there is. For generations, Black Americans have been locked out of the assets that gain within this system, while holding the very money that loses value within it. But now a new form of money exists, one that cannot be expanded, manipulated, or quietly devalued. For the first time, there is an opportunity to store the full value of our labor in something the system cannot rig against us. That opportunity is Bitcoin. Now, I know many of us have heard of Bitcoin, but few of us really understand it, and that's not our fault. Much of what we've been told about Bitcoin is either incomplete or an outright lie. It's not a scam. It's not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's a once-in-history shift in how human beings store, preserve, exchange value, and for us, Black America, the most readily available asymmetrical opportunity to build wealth. Now, what Bitcoin exactly is? It is a hybrid of the best properties of money. It is digital cash, a store of value, and an emerging global economic system. You can use it to purchase goods or services, pay people anywhere in the world, or just hold on to it like an investment. You hold your Bitcoin in a digital wallet app like Cash App or Venmo, and you can send and receive Bitcoin just as easily as you do dollars in those apps. Bitcoin as digital cash. Cash has one defining property. When you hand it to someone, the transaction is final. No one can stop it. No one can reverse it. Ownership transfers completely. Bitcoin brings this same property into the digital world. We can now send money digitally to anyone, anywhere, without needing a bank or a payment processor. No middleman, no permission, no discrimination, and no one can freeze your account or block your transaction. Right now, your money sits in a bank. You trust that bank to hold it, to let you access it when you need it. But what happens when they decide you can't? All over the world, we've seen governments and banks freeze accounts, block withdrawals, and deny people access to their own savings, sometimes without warning, sometimes without reason. We've been taught to believe our money is ours, but as long as someone else has to grant us permission to use it, it's not truly ours. Bitcoin changes that. With Bitcoin, you own it completely. Before Bitcoin, digital cash could not exist without a middleman. Because of one critical problem, digital information can be copied, so there is nothing stopping someone from copying it and spending it twice. This is called the double spend problem. With physical cash, this problem doesn't exist. If I hand you a dollar bill, I no longer have it. But digital money is just information. Without someone keeping records, it could be duplicated endlessly. This is why banks exist. They act as the central authority that verifies ownership. They keep the ledger. They are the middleman, which means they control your money. Bitcoin has removed the need for that middleman. Bitcoin solved the double spend problem. This was a technological breakthrough and is revolutionary because for centuries, control of the money has meant control over people. But now, for the first time, we have a monetary system that gives power to the people. Bitcoin as a store of value. The best-known store of value is gold. Like gold, Bitcoin preserves your hard work, but it's superior, making it the ultimate savings technology. Gold is bulky, not easy to transport or hide. With Bitcoin, you can store a few dollars or a few million worth in your digital Bitcoin wallet or even in your memory if you memorize just 12 simple words. Every Bitcoin wallet is connected to an encrypted private key, which is represented by 12 secret words only revealed to the wallet owner. Think of those 12 words as the key to a vault, but these 12 words can unlock your digital Bitcoin wallet wherever you are on Earth. You can leave one part of the world with nothing and arrive anywhere else on the globe, and all you have to do is download a Bitcoin wallet, then enter your 12 words, and you'd have access to your funds instantly. And while governments keep printing dollars, making everything you buy more expensive, Bitcoin's supply stays absolutely fixed at 21 million coins. That scarcity is the foundation of its power. It has a hard limit of 21 million coins. No more can ever be created. This makes Bitcoin fundamentally different from the US dollar. The supply of dollars is constantly expanding, and its effects are real. Money saved in 2015 has lost nearly 30% of its value. If you had $1,000 sitting in a savings account, it would have lost over $300 in purchasing power. That means $1,000 today will only buy what $700 used to. Your purchasing power declines year after year. You didn't spend it. You didn't lose it. It was printed away by our government. Bitcoin changes this dynamic. Because its supply cannot increase, Bitcoin becomes more valuable relative to goods and services over time. Which means, when you save in Bitcoin, your purchasing power can increase. A home priced at 10 Bitcoin today may cost 5 Bitcoin in the future. A car priced at 1 Bitcoin today may cost a half Bitcoin later. Your money gains strength instead of losing it. This is what makes Bitcoin a true store of value. It preserves the value of your time. It protects the value of your labor. It allows you to carry your productivity into the future without it being quietly taken from you. You have spent your life saving in a system designed to lose value. Bitcoin is the first financial system designed to preserve it. The power to build a fair system. Bitcoin isn't just money. It's a new financial system, one that doesn't rely on banks, one that doesn't require government approval, and one that is open to anyone, regardless of who they are. Its rules are enforced by math and code, not institutions, politics, or the existing power structure. This is fundamentally different from the system that exists today, because participation in the current financial system has always required permission. To buy a home, you need mortgage approval. To start a business, you need a loan. To invest, you need access. Access that has been systematically denied to us through discrimination and inequality built into the system. In the current system, gatekeepers decide who gets to build wealth. Credit determines who owns property, who builds equity, and who doesn't. And banks wield that power every time they deny a loan. But Bitcoin operates as a parallel financial system, one that runs alongside the existing system, but under a completely different set of rules. Bitcoin will not automatically eliminate discrimination or inequality. It does not change who gets loans. It does not change who owns businesses or land. What it changes is the foundation. It creates a system where ownership, savings, and transactions no longer require institutional approval. And when people begin to build within this system, new possibilities emerge. Savings can grow without being diluted. Businesses can be funded directly. Wealth can be transferred without intermediaries. And economic relationships can form without traditional gatekeepers. Bitcoin does not fix the existing system. It allows a new one to be built. And over time, as more individuals and communities adopt it, not just as an investment, but as their financial foundation, it becomes possible to build systems that are more open, more accessible, and more fair. For Black Americans, this represents something historically unprecedented. This is what makes Bitcoin different. For communities like ours, systematically excluded from traditional financial markets, this isn't just innovation, it's inclusion by design. And because no one controls it, it belongs to everyone. And this is where Bitcoin's value derives. It doesn't come from hype, it comes from what it fixes. It fixes ownership. By giving you money, no one can freeze or seize. It fixes inflation. By limiting the supply forever to 21 million coins. And it fixes access. By opening the system to anyone, anywhere. But there's a fourth reason Bitcoin has value. And it's the most powerful of all. Bitcoin's value doesn't just come from what it is, it comes from who uses it. Just like any other currency, the more people, institutions, and governments that adopt it, the stronger and more valuable the network becomes. Economists call it Metcalfe's law. Metcalfe's law states, a network's value grows exponentially with the number of people who use it. When adoption doubles, value doesn't just double, it quadruples. Bitcoin is proof of this principle. Right now, tens of thousands of computers across the world verify every transaction and secure the system. Over 70 million addresses hold Bitcoin as of 2025. Institutions, governments, and individuals are joining at an accelerating pace, each one adding liquidity, stability, and legitimacy to the network. And this continues through a self-reinforcing feedback loop. Adoption creates utility. Utility creates demand. Demand raises price. And price attracts more adoption. Every new buyer makes the remaining supply more scarce. Every new holder makes every other holder's position stronger. The more participants, the stronger the system. The stronger the system, the more valuable every position within it. And because Bitcoin's supply never changes, that growing demand doesn't just raise prices, it compounds them. That's what makes Bitcoin unstoppable. It's not just digital gold. It's a living, growing network whose strength increases every time someone joins. This is what Bitcoin is. This is why Bitcoin is valuable. But you were deceived about Bitcoin. From the very beginning, the media called it a scam. The government said it was fake money, a bubble that would pop any day now. But it didn't pop. It kept rising, year after year. Bitcoin kept proving them wrong. And when the lies didn't work, they tried something else. Distraction. Suddenly, thousands of new cryptocurrencies appeared, each one promising to be the next Bitcoin. They flooded the market with noise, confusion, and false hope. They wanted to make sure the average person, especially Black America, couldn't tell the difference between truth and imitation. There is Bitcoin, and then there are cryptocurrencies, like XRP. These are not the same. While they sold hype, they quietly bought the truth for themselves. Venture capital firms, hedge funds, sovereign wealth funds, they knew the truth. Bitcoin isn't a scam. It is the foundation of the next financial era. BlackRock, the largest asset manager on Earth, created Bitcoin funds for their already rich clients. And now even governments are following suit. The United States has established a strategic Bitcoin reserve, and other nations are doing the same. Even leaders who gave misinformation were buying. In 2021, President Trump called Bitcoin a scam. Now he owns nearly $1 billion worth, making him one of America's biggest Bitcoin investors. While they told Black America that Bitcoin was dangerous, they've been buying. But Bitcoin is for the people. Bitcoin wasn't created for the elite to get richer. Bitcoin was not created by a corporation. It was not launched by Wall Street. Bitcoin was born out of injustice. When the 2008 crash hit, millions of families lost their homes, especially Black families. Banks were bailed out with newly printed money, while the people suffered. Trillions of dollars, printed from nothing, handed to the very criminals who caused the crisis. On January 3, 2009, in the midst of the crisis, Bitcoin was launched, something the world had never seen before. Within the first Bitcoin, its inventor digitally imprinted a message. The Times, 3rd of January 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for banks. Bitcoin was invented so that never again does money have to be controlled by a few at the expense of the many. For Black America, this means the opportunity for financial sovereignty for the first time in history. I'm going to share with you some of the unfortunate facts of being Black in America. White Americans hold $134.6 trillion in wealth. Black Americans hold just $5.4 trillion. That's a 25-to-1 gap. One of the largest wealth disparities in the modern world. And it doesn't stop at wealth. Black Americans earn just 64 cents for every $1 earned by white Americans. Nearly 1 in 5 Black Americans lives in poverty. For children, it's worse. Nearly 1 in 3 Black children grows up in poverty. Now, what do you think happens when income is low and poverty is high? You get constant instability. A people pushed to the edges of society. Black Americans make up about 13% of the population, but nearly 1/3 of the homeless. We experience homelessness at up to 5 times the rate of white Americans. When it comes to employment, Black Americans are twice as likely to be unemployed. And when you include those not counted by the government stats, that number jumps to 1 of 8. Then Black youth have it the worst. 22% of them can't even find work. The deepest impact is what happens when the system turns punitive. Black Americans are incarcerated at 5 times the rate of white Americans. Nearly 1 million Black Americans are currently incarcerated. And the most devastating statistic of all, 1 in 3 Black men will be imprisoned in their lifetime. Think about that. Not 1 in 100, not 1 in 10, 1 in 3. This is not random, this is not accidental. This is the system at work. A system where wealth is harder to build, income is lower, poverty is higher, instability is greater, and prison too often likely. Generation after generation, these outcomes repeat themselves, not because of a lack of effort, but because of a lack of access. We have been exploited, extracted from, and excluded from this system. Our economic participation has not translated into ownership, and income has not translated into wealth. And without ownership, without assets, without real wealth, there is no leverage. And without leverage, there is no ability to change outcomes. So these gaps don't close. They persist, they compound, they widen. This is where Bitcoin changes everything. Bitcoin is going to $1 million+ with or without Black America. Let me repeat that. Bitcoin is going to $1 million+ with or without Black America, and that will just be the start in Bitcoin's price discovery. Black America can adopt and accelerate Bitcoin's growth or miss out on one of our rare opportunities to build wealth and begin to reverse these numerous inequalities. The fact is, no one is coming to help Black America. Not the government, not the banks, and not those who benefit from the current system that was designed to keep us behind. Since no one is coming, we must act decisively to our advantage, and Bitcoin is the only opportunity with enough potential upside to change the trajectory of all of Black America. Understand these numbers. There will only be 21 million Bitcoins ever in total. But here's the number that really matters. Only about 2.5 million Bitcoin are actually available to buy. The rest are locked away, held by long-term holders who have no intention of selling. That's it, just 2.5 million coins for the entire world to compete over. Institutions know this. Governments know this. The wealthiest people on the planet know this. And now, so do you. Imagine if Black America, across 18 million households, collectively accumulate just 1 million Bitcoin. That removes 40% of the available supply, which will lead to a supply shock. A supply shock means there's not enough Bitcoin available for everyone. With fewer Bitcoin available, buyers are forced to compete, and that competition drives the price up. Bank of America found that just $93 million in Bitcoin purchases moves the price by 1%. Just $93 million. Because Bitcoin works differently. When you buy and hold Bitcoin, you reduce supply, making every other holder's Bitcoin more valuable. And when they do the same, they increase the value of yours. Anyone can purchase Bitcoin, even as low as $10, because each Bitcoin can be divided into 100 million units. And every purchase does the same thing. It removes supply. When 18 million households each consistently buy what they can, rather it be $10, $50, or $500, that's not millions in demand. That becomes tens of billions. When one household buys, it's small. When millions do it consistently, we move the market. And in a fixed supply market, price doesn't rise slowly, it explodes. As supply tightens, price can rise to $150,000 to $250,000. Then, as the shock hits, $250,000 to $500,000. Then global demand floods in. We could see $500,000 plus. A self-reinforcing feedback loop takes effect. Buying increases price, which leads to rising price attracting attention, which leads to attention driving more buying, which leads to the movement strengthening. And the cycle repeats, faster, harder, higher. This is not theory. This is how supply shocks work. And 18 million households, draining 40% of available Bitcoin, wouldn't just be a supply shock. It would be the largest demand event in Bitcoin's history. And here's what's unique about us. Black America doesn't follow trends. We create movements. Black America has always been the cultural signal for the rest of the world. The music the world listens to, we create it. The fashion the world follows, we set it. The language, the art, the energy, we defined it. When Black America moves, the world notices. When Black America adopts something, it becomes mainstream. When Black America believes in something, it becomes a movement. This is not an exaggeration. This is history. So imagine what happens when Black households across America begin buying Bitcoin. Not a celebrity, not an influencer, but millions of households, teachers, barbers, nurses, entrepreneurs, parents, each one making the same decision. I'm going to own a piece of the most valuable money ever created. That signal cannot be bought. It cannot be manufactured. It cannot be faked. When the rest of the world, the institutions, the media, the global markets, sees Black America moving into Bitcoin with purpose and conviction, it becomes the most powerful advertisement Bitcoin has ever had. Then the self-reinforcing loop continues. Headlines bring new buyers. New buyers tighten supply further. Tighter supply pushes price higher. Higher prices make headlines. And the cycle repeats. We are locked into a monetary system that extracts from us, And because we must use it to survive, our participation unintentionally sustains it. We work for and save in a currency that by design loses value over time. The system that causes that loss is sustained by our continued reliance on it. Sadly, we are unwitting participants in our own exploitation. But the system is transforming, dollar dominance is weakening, and the global economy is evolving around new forms of money like Bitcoin. This transformation is happening with or without us. Institutions are buying, governments are accumulating, the rich are positioning. The gap between those inside the new system and those outside it is already forming, and Black America risks being locked out again. We can continue doing what we've always done, working harder, saving and devaluing dollars, hoping the system eventually treats us fairly, or make a choice between two futures. Future 1, permanent inequality, locked out of the next financial system, relegated to economic subordination for generations. Future 2, we adopt Bitcoin, acquire wealth, sovereignty, and security. This is the window. Your children can inherit wealth, not debt. They can inherit ownership, not dependence. They can inherit power, not struggle. Start with 10, 100, 1,000, whatever you can. Use dollar cost averaging. Buy a small amount every week or every month. Sometimes you'll buy high, sometimes you'll buy low. Over time, your average cost smooths out and your total holdings grow. Bitcoin is volatile. It will drop sometimes. But beneath that volatility, there's a pattern. Every major drop in Bitcoin's history has bottomed higher than the one before it. Each cycle, the floor rises. What looks like a loss in the moment often turns out to be a temporary discount before the next wave of adoption pushes price higher. That's what separates Bitcoin from speculation. Speculative assets collapse and don't recover. Bitcoin dips, stabilizes, and then moves to new highs. But Bitcoin's price swings should not matter because this is not a short-term trade. This is a long-term position. 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. You have to see Bitcoin for what it is, digital real estate. Like real estate, values move up and down in the short term. But over time, property appreciates. The people who build wealth aren't the ones trading in and out. They're the ones who own, hold, and let time work. They don't sell it. They borrow against it, then pass it down to the next generation. Bitcoin is the same. This is how real wealth is built. Owning a scarce asset, holding through volatility, and keeping it across generations. Bitcoin is the first asset in history that lets ordinary people apply this same strategy to a globally scarce, unseizable, digitally native store of value. You don't need to be in the right city or the right zip code. You just need to start, hold, and think in the long term. The choice is ours, but the window is closing. And once it closes, it won't open again.